So I have some definitions here. Um, trauma. Trauma literally means wounds and shock. That's what the word is defined as per Google. Some of these definitions I looked up on Google. I didn't go to my Webster's dictionary, which I probably should have, but I didn't. I had the power of knowledge at my fingertips, so I took the lazy way and I did that. Uh, Trauma. The brain and the mind cannot comprehend, understand, or make sense of an event and is a severe emotional response to an event or events. Grief, the anguish experienced after significant loss or remorse of something done. Symptoms of trauma and grief are similar in ways of anxiety, psychological distress, confusion, obsessive dwelling on the past, apprehension about the future, disassociation, agitation. And I looked that up because the way that Judas and I ended, all the things that went left, the way that he acted, the way that he treated me, caused me to bear witness to a side of him that I have not seen with me. He has not ever been that way with me, ever. And it's hard for me to admit some of this shit, right? And so the breakup caused was it was a traumatic experience for me. And then I was grieving the breakup. And one thing I learned about grief is that it is unexpected company. That shit will show up at any time, at any place. And you just have to recognize it, deal with it while it's there, and allow whatever emotion comes up behind it, deal with it and allow that to pass, right? And grief, I'm coming to learn, is like it's like a fucking, it's similar to healing in a way that it has a, it possibly could have a lifelong effect on you. And in discovering what I know now, meaning that the breakup was a traumatic event for me, his death was a traumatic event for me, and that I am still grieving both of those processes. Um, I was a little bit hard on myself because of the way the breakup happened, and like I said, how he treated me in a way that he's never treated me before. Just it just made me fucking realize that I am still grieving, and it is okay to grieve. I was when I say I was being a little hard on myself, it's because I was giving myself a time limit. Like, I was just timing everything. Even getting into a relationship after. It was just, I'm like, you know what? Okay, time is up. Like, 2 years after the breakup should be enough time for me to be able to start again, you know, with somebody new. And that is not the case because I was still grieving the breakup, and grieving a breakup by definition of grief and trauma. I realize now, even now, that I am obsessing like over past things that happened before. I don't really know if that's fucking healthy or not. I think obsessive is a strong word, but a part of the grieving process, at least for me, is to I just feel like this is like fucking rhetorical, right? Because trauma is the brain's inability to comprehend, to understand, to make sense of what happened, right? And so a trauma response is grief, right? And a trauma response is also obsessing over the past. And I try not to do that, but I have been doing that even after the breakup because I didn't get closure. I had to find it within myself, try to understand what was happening, when it was happening, why it was happening. And so I go back to that place and the fact is I just need to fucking let it go. I need to let it go. Because holding on to it doesn't change anything. Even if at some point I can make sense some type of way of what happened, or configure why, it's not going to change anything. And so okay, so because I'm coming up with this shit, because this live here was just about how I'm coping with the loss, right? And again, I put a time limit, saying to myself, I should be okay now because of the way it ended. Like, why am I grieving? Why do I feel the way that I feel? I feel, sad. And again, going back to the past, like I miss what we could have been. I miss him, my lover, my friend. I miss who he used to be, and he wasn't that person anymore. So it's like my brain is like scrambled right now during his grieving process, because ultimately who he was not who he had grown to be, and who he had turned into. At least not, that's not my impression of it. And then there's stages of forgiveness, right? And I forgave myself, and I forgive myself. And him, not so much. Depending on the scenario or the situation, like there's one circumstance at a time that I either can forgive him for or not. I forgive him for not knowing how to cope with his trauma. I forgive him for not necessarily knowing how to ask for help in coping with his traumas. I forgive him for not recognizing that he didn't have to be Superman. I never ever asked him to be Superman. But there are certain things that I don't forgive him for, right? And I was feeling kind of fucked up about that for a little while, because I'm like, the man is not even no longer here. He's passed away. Why would you know, carry on with not forgiving him or feeling away? And here's why. Because he was still an adult. He was still a human being. And I felt like human decency is a basic in any relationship. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but I feel like human decency, just being a decent fucking human being, is basic. And he didn't do that. There was a lot of things that he did not communicate with me. I'm finding out now that he communicated with other people, which is, which is fine. I feel like, well, for him, it's fine for him. Because at a time where he probably needed someone, I'm glad that he had a person or people that he was able to confide in, or be vulnerable with, or even just talk to, because we all need to talk. We all need people. So I'm glad for him for that. But I don't forgive him for the way that he treated me. I don't forgive him for him not displaying the basic of human decency to me. Because he didn't communicate with me. I got mistreatment. I got disrespect. I got to be his emotional punching bag. that turned into a physical punching bag. Like, and I've never experienced that from him ever. So there's all of this shit that's like on in my head about him. And through it all, I am extending grace to myself now, because I am realizing, like I said in the beginning, that fucking grief will show up at any time, at any place. And the only thing that you could really do when it shows up is handle it right then and there. I don't forgive him for choosing not to be a better parent. He chose not to be a better parent, at the least, even if we could not be together once we separated. He could have been a better parent. He could have tried. He didn't even fucking try. Which then it made me feel a way about the family that we had, because it made me question everything about him, everything about us, and everything about myself. You know, the way that that he was with me at the end made me question everything. Made me question myself. Made me have regrets. Made me confused. I was not the cause of any of his traumas, and yet he bled all fucking over me as if I was. And I don't forgive him for that. And in not forgiving him, it doesn't weigh on me. It's a part of my new reality. It's a part of me learning to be okay with the decisions that I'm making. It means that it's okay. I don't have to forgive him for every fucking single thing that he did that was fucked up. Because if he was still living, I'm not sure if we would be in a space to be able to have a conversation. But I would have the opportunity to tell him how I felt, and that I would not forgive him for it. So I realized that I am still grieving the loss of him not being here. And that's another thing. Because I was upset with him, I don't wish anything. I never wished anything bad on him at all, ever. Because at one point I loved every single thing about this man. I did love him unconditionally. He taught me a lot. It's like me right now in my head. I'm trying to make sense of this whole fucking thing, right? I don't forgive him for me feeling cheated, because I absolutely feel cheated. I felt cheated at the breakup. And I feel cheated now in his death, because I will not again have the opportunity to tell him face to face or have a discussion with him face to face. And I feel like that's something that he should fucking know, right? And I've held back a lot of my feelings when I was going through it, believe it or not, still thinking about him. Still saying, I recognize that he's going through something right now. And so I don't want to be an additional headache or burden or stress to him, being as though he's already going through something. Meanwhile, what I'm going through because of him is eating me the fuck up. It is eating me up. And I shared it, of course, with the people that I love, my support system. I shared as much as I could. But then even then, it gets repetitive and even more stressful because they're listening and sometimes they give their opinion and but it's just their version. It is not the same as being able to speak with the actual person that caused the trauma to gain some type of clarity. And anytime that we were able to come together, and have a conversation, he didn't want to. It was few and far in between when we were able to do that. But he didn't want to. I tried. Because I required more information from him that only he had. But he didn't want to. And so I am trying to find a way to be able to move past him not being here. And he was the only one that would have been able to honestly provide closure for me. No one else can do that for me. No one else. But there's some things that I don't have to address, but I'm going to address. Me getting things for him was not me buying him. I just think that is a far-fetched fucking thought. I don't buy people. I don't buy emotion. me purchasing things for him, anything that I purchased for him, was me coming to logic in my head about the way we were living, right? So I purchased the home in a more suburbanized area. When he first came home, he was paroled to me, and we were in the hood. And I love the hood, don't get me wrong, but I've concluded that I didn't owe the hood my family. There were things that were taking place in the hood that had begun taking place in the hood. Probably always, but it had become more rampant. And I couldn't figure with myself, you know what? I need to get my family out of here for not just safety reasons, but for longevity purposes. You know, you want better for your family. And so we moved to a more suburbanized area. And I think most people know the suburbs are a little ways from the hood, right? And so I purchased a home there because I wanted better for my family. And he came with, well, of course he came with me to pick up us. We went house shopping. We were together. We went house shopping. And the property that I have right now was the one that he was like, you know, this is it, babe. This is it. This is like perfect for us, right? And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And the area in which we moved to does not have the same access to public transportation as the city does. So in the city, if you're familiar with the city at all, you can go as short as a block over and get a bus or a train. Where we moved to, you're not able to do that. There are buses that run every 2 to 3 hours, and they're charter buses. They're not even MTA buses. They're charter buses. So there's like Greyhound, and the Chinese bus, and like it's almost like some shit you gotta plan, right? They do have a parking ride. They do have a parking ride. Again, parking rides, as you know, you have to drive your car to the location, and you take a charter bus to your destination of choice. So I purchased him a vehicle. I had a vehicle. Our son had a vehicle. And I purchased him a vehicle. And it wasn't about buying him, but in being his life partner. It was about him being able to have the convenience to not just get back and forth to work, but to get back and forth to his family, open up some options for himself to be able to gain employment that he'll be able to travel to according to his schedule. It was about a lifestyle, an adjustment to a lifestyle that we had. It wasn't about fucking buying him. If you're with somebody 20 some odd years, I just don't think that there's a point in that I had to buy anything. We were all ready to fuck together. Right? We were so together that he tattooed my name on him. Like, we were to fuck together. And it was past the point of trying to fucking buy him. So it makes me livid that people who knew us and knew of us would turn around and say such a fucking thing, that I was trying to buy him. What I was doing was playing my part in a fucking relationship, because I don't think that if one person is doing well, that they're gonna fucking leave their partner behind. I think a relationship is a partnership. And the fucking, there's this saying in the hood, and not even in the hood. This goes all the way back to our foremothers and fathers, that when somebody in the family is able to make it and do well, you reach your hand back for those that are in your tribe to pull them up too. And common sense is, if we were still living in the city, I wouldn't have purchased that vehicle. There would have been no need for me to purchase the vehicle if he had a way to get around. If he was able to walk up the block, because where we were living from in the city, it was across the street for one bus, 2 blocks down for another bus, and the train station. So he was able to access those things very easily. He wasn't able to access that where we had moved to. And it's not that I have to explain myself to anyone. It's not that I have to clear my name. This is me venting how I felt about some of the shit that was fucking said. When we were together before he caught this bid, we were in an apartment paying bills together, struggling together, because we were together and we both had an income and we were paying bills together. And I saw and I felt absolutely nothing wrong with us being in a better position as a family unit, and me extending some of my resources to my partner. Not to fucking buy him, but because that's just what the fuck it is. And because I always felt and knew that if it was him, he would do the same for me. Because he has done that. Now, no, he was not able to ever purchase the vehicle for me, but there was times that, as the man of the house, when I wasn't able to do certain things, that he paid everything. Like when I went into the academy, for my first job, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just knew that it was time to get my life on track, legitimize myself, so to speak. And I was getting my life on track and had to go into the academy, and it required that we make all of these purchases because we had to purchase uniforms, shoes, belts, books. And not only did he pay for all of that stuff for me, He was also paying majority of the bills at that time because my finances was mainly going to the investment part of trying to do better for us and for our family. And that's where we was then. And so fast forward to the future, or fast forward to me doing that time with him, like, it just was no doubt to me that's just what it was. That was the hand that I was dealt, or that we was dealt at the time. It was definitely a valley part of our relationship, but that's what relationships are like built on, the ups and the downs, the highs and the fucking lows. And so when I got into a position to be able to do better for us as a unit, that's what I did. I don't have any regrets about it. It's just the ignorance and the envy of people who make, I don't want to, it is making up shit, but to make up shit to fit their personal agenda because they just don't want to accept the reality of the situation is fucking sad and it's fucking pathetic. How long we was together, the family that we created, the foundation that we had, how fucking dare you fix your mouth, because a thought is a thought and it's all yours and it belongs to you. So if you think it, that's one thing, but how dare you put out in the fucking atmosphere and then try to, and not try, you're telling this shit to other people, and then other people are getting on board with the fucking stupid ass idea that she's doing all that because she's trying to buy him. Maybe the type of bitches that started that shit, maybe that's the shit that they had to do for they niggas. I am 48 years old, about to be 49. I have been fucking around with men in general since the age of 16 years old. I ain't ever in all of my fucking life, since I started dating men or boys or men or whatever, the male species, I ain't ever had to buy no motherfucking man. Ever. And I absolutely pride myself on that. I never gave anybody the notion or the impression that I had to. So for you to sit there and conjure that shit up is simply bitterness, envy, and pure ignorance. It really is ignorant. And this is my response to the ignorance. Because all that fucking time that we was together, all I ever did was do me. I never, ever, ever bothered with any of these other bitches now that's coming out of the woodworks with all this other type of shit that they got going on. But I never bothered no motherfucking body. There was no need for me to bother nobody. I was good. I was happy, and so was he. Now that he's no longer here, everybody got something to fucking say. When he returned, came home, everybody had something to fucking say. Nobody was at peace with the decision that he fucking made to return this, which was so odd to me. Right? And so, for some reason, it was a fucking problem. But the whole fucking time, I stayed to myself. I still didn't bother no fucking body. So, for these fucking people to have so much to fucking say after the fact is beyond me. And you know what? I don't even fucking care what it is that you have to say, because I'm still over here minding my own motherfucking business. I have never, ever, ever called anybody because I needed something from them for him or for our children. Never. So, even if, let's just hypothetically say, you say to yourself and then you say to your little teen that, yeah, she was trying to buy him. Even, let's say if that's the case, or she thinks she buying him. Even if that's the case, why do you fucking care? Why do you feel like it's your fucking business? I didn't call you and ask you for any motherfucking money. I didn't call you and ask you for your opinion about it. I didn't even know that you had an opinion on it at all until way after the fucking fact. Like, this is shit that's coming to me now. And I just want to simply know, why do you fucking care? Why did you ever fucking care? Because I never gave a fuck about you or your opinion about us or my family or how we were living or what we was doing and what was working for us. So why do you even fucking care? Somebody bothered by me doing me. So apparently the saying is true that minding your own motherfucking business bothers people. It has to. But again, I don't care. It's just that I have to address some things some fucking time. I can't let every fucking thing slide. Because even though it doesn't bother me, I just need you to know, don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me because I don't fuck with you. And I don't fuck with you because I don't fuck with you. Don't let that go over your head. Leave me entirely the fuck alone. You know what was so crazy to me? This was crazy to me. When the services was over, I sat in the parking lot of that fucking church until they pulled off with that hearse. I was having a fucking hard time, right? But I stopped a family member and I said to them, you know, where is this going to be? Because I didn't follow everybody else. Like I said, I sat in a parking lot and there was a family member. And the family member was like, you know, I want you to come and I don't want you to think that anybody's going to say anything to you, and I don't want you to feel uncomfortable or feel like, I don't want you to feel like you shouldn't be there. You know, I don't feel like you should feel that way. You know, you should come. And I said to the family member, okay. But what was odd to me about that moment is that whatever she was speaking on, I absolutely did not feel. I didn't feel like I didn't belong there. I didn't feel that I shouldn't go. I didn't feel that anybody was going to say or do anything. I didn't feel any of those things. I absolutely felt that I had a right to be there. I absolutely felt that it was totally up to me to go. I didn't feel that anybody, people would say something to me or do. I didn't feel that. So that was a revelation within itself, to say the least. I didn't show up to the repast because he was not there. And in all of the years that he wasn't there, neither were they. Not for me, not for my children, in any way. I would reach out because I felt like I wanted my children to know that side of the family, but I did most of the reaching out. And when I would be invited to events on behalf of his mother, his mom, because I would keep in touch with her, and his mom would tell me what's going on, and she would say, bring the kids out, and I would bring the kids out. It's not that any one of them ever would call and check on the kids, ever. I always did the initiating of everything, and I'm not no longer upset about it. At the time, when it became a revelation for me, at the time I was upset about it, but I wasn't upset about it anymore. You got, things that come to your attention, you know um you deal with it in your own time. You deal with it, you handle it, and you move on from it. And so, going back to the repass, I just felt like it wasn't a need to go. What was I going to go for? Because when everything first happened, took place, the detectives called me and recognized me as the next of kin, right? And I called his mom. And I was totally devastated and hurting, and my kids were hurting. And still, not one motherfucking person, not one motherfucking person from that side of the family called us to see if we was okay. And maybe if they didn't call me, I couldn't see why wouldn't they, because I had, not only was I in a relationship with this man, but I had waited for this man to return after doing 13 and a half, 14 years in fucking jail. I had waited for him to return. I was clearly still in love with this man, as if he had never fucking left. And yes, we had separated, but that did not mean that I still did not love him. And why no one would just see if I was okay was fucking beyond me. Let alone the kids. The kids didn't even get a motherfucking phone call from no fucking body leading up to the fucking funeral services. So he himself is not at the repast. What the fuck am I going there for? To eat? To sit around and talk about what? To who? there was one aunt, one cousin, and because I'm trying to be absolutely 100% correct, and his daughter's mother. That came to embrace me at the services. That's it. You had some, well, two of the brothers spoke to me. And then the next day at the burial, the other brother spoke. Like, I'm just taking into account the people that did not speak and the people who gave me screw faces and looks and negative energy. That's mainly what it was about for me. You know, those were defining moments for me during the services. So when it came to the repast, there was absolutely in my mind no reason why I should go. And again, it wasn't because I was fucking feeling uncomfortable. It wasn't that, I thought someone would say something or do something. It wasn't for any of those reasons that the family member thought maybe why I wouldn't go. I don't want you to be uncomfortable. It wasn't that. The reality is, all up and through those times when he needed you and when I needed you, you were not fucking there. Now, I don't know a lot of shit, evidently, because there were some things that he was keeping from me, come to find out later on. Or maybe he wasn't keeping it from me. You can't believe everything that everybody says. So, but I can say that this much from my experience. When I needed them, they were nowhere around. When I needed them just to send a text and say happy birthday to our youngest, they were nowhere around. When I had these stories to tell them about their father, about the type of person that he is and that he was, and I'm talking about during his incarceration. The man ain't even passed away at this time. When I'm telling them stories to give them an idea of the type of person that he was and who he was to me and the role that he played in our life. And I needed backup, a phone call here and there to the boys. They were nowhere. So there was no reason for me to go and sit around and be with them and be in kindred spirit at the repast. We had not been in I can't even remember the fucking last time we had ever been in kindred spirit. And no, every family is not the same. But I just, I thought that family love was like that. I thought that, silly me. I thought that, they loved him and in turn would love my boys and be in touch with them from time to time. That's it. They didn't have to buy them anything or do anything. They didn't have to do any of that, which they did it. But I'm just saying in comparison, like it wasn't that I needed them for financial stability. It wasn't that. I needed them for emotional support for our children. And I never got it. And then there came a time when evidently some of the women in the family started to turn on me for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know. But they did. And okay. But it was no reason that, that was just all the more reason why I wasn't going to the repast. And I am still grieving him not being here. And I'm going to allow myself to continue to feel it. I'm just trying to get to a point where I can stop focusing on the past, the breakup part of it. I don't blame myself at all for his death. I don't blame myself for the breakup. But it doesn't hurt any less. I don't blame myself for him not being a better parent. I don't blame myself for his traumas. I take accountability for not leaving sooner, not recognizing sooner that it was over. Not recognizing sooner would have saved me a lot of my resources, especially time. Recognizing it sooner would have saved me time. And the thing too is that I still love him. He was a very, very important part of my life. And even though I'm still upset with him, I can also thank him in the same breath for giving me the very best of him, because he did. He left me with a smart, strong, healthy, beautiful baby boy. Right? He came into my life at a very, very trying time for me. He opened me back up when everything about me was closed off. So I appreciate that, and I love him for that. And because I'm mad at him don't mean I hate him. I don't hate him. I may dislike some of the things he did, but I still loved him. And I miss him. I've been missing him a long time. And I wish things were different. I'm still learning. And thank you. Thank you to God and to the universe for allowing him to be in my life for the time that he did. Because he still set a bar. He still set a bar. He's the first man that I ever lived with. Ever lived with. And the way that he came into my life and took care of me, took care of my heart, then was the standard that I still held him to this day, which is why the breakup was so hard for me and so confusing to me. But it also shown me that I will not settle for less than that. So anyone that I do manage to get into a relationship with, futuristically speaking, because I am not ready. I am not ready at all. But futuristically speaking, that it's not just about paying bills. I need you guys to understand that for you to understand your value and your worth as a human being does not depend on your financial status. Financial status always helps. It does. It does, because grown women that are out there doing what they need to do for their families and focus on the betterment of their families and themselves don't want to be with a nigga that ain't got shit. But your self-value does not solely depend on your financial status. It does not. And how he treated me then was the standard that I held him to after the fact when he returned home. And it is a standard that I will hold every person that I encounter romantically to. So no, it's not a comparison. And if you take that as a comparison, it is because you're looking for an excuse not to do what's needed in order to have me in your life, to date me. It's not a comparison. It means that I have been shown how to be loved appropriately, and that I will not ever again settle for anything less than that. So to love me, to be in a relationship with me, will always have a requirement. there is a basic level of understanding to that. Yeah. Now that I have the experience, and I've been had the experience, I just took myself off of the market because I was in love with someone. But now that I am well aware of what it's like to be loved correctly, that is the standard. That is the standard now for me. And if you're not going to love me correctly, I am not going to be bothered with you. I'm not. So, with that being said, I know it's been a bit of a roller coaster today, but thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in.